Welcome. I'm Barbara Lohbeck, and it is February the 7th, and we are here at Sarah Siltala's home and studio, and we are chatting about MasterWorks 2024, which is coming up soon. We're opening soon. Anyway, Sarah will judge our miniatures division, and we are absolutely delighted to have this conversation with her today. And thank you, Sarah,
Thank you for coming.
for inviting
Yes,
us
wonderful.
over.
Thank you.
I'd like to start by asking you a little bit about your background, your family, and where you grew up, and just stuff.
Excellent. Okay, start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, I was raised in Santa Fe. Both my parents were artists. They had studios at home. We were just raised with art being an everyday activity, art and music. I'd come home and my mother was a weaver, so I could hear the loom going in her studio, back and forth and back and forth. And my dad would be in his studio making ceramics. He'd be wedging the clay, or sometimes I'd hear guitar playing because he was a guitar player as well. My mother studied piano when she was young, so we had a piano. So art and music just very important growing up, and my sister as well. We would travel around to art fairs with my dad and my mom, are all around the state. He was a big part of the art fairs on the fairgrounds. So I was just a wee child, and I was running around the fairgrounds and meeting all the local artists, and it was just natural. And so in Santa Fe, so I was becoming more interested in my pursuits. I decided to pursue music in college because I wanted to be a little different from the rest of my family. My younger sister was always drawing and doing illustrations, and she had drawings in children's magazines, and so I played piano, and that's what gave me joy. But I also did a lot of things in Santa Fe. I worked in an art gallery when I was in high school on Canyon Road in the heart of the gallery district there. I remember going to galleries with my dad. So I was having an education in all the arts. But I went to college, and I went to UNM and studied music for quite a while. And never ever once did I think I would be a painter. That never crossed my mind. I didn't practice drawing. It just didn't interest me until college. You know, I was in school for quite a while, and something in my heart shifted.
What do you think that was?
Well, you know, college was a difficult time for me, and it didn't align with that, which I didn't know. I don't like performing. I had performance anxiety, and there's a lot of pressure to be, doing that every day. So it became more and more difficult for me to continue on that path. And once I stopped going to school, when you close a door, the universe has a way of providing inspiration and guiding you. And I truly believe that, you have to stay open to where your life will lead you. And I met my wonderful husband. We had a child. And once I had my first child, something welled up within me that I cannot explain. I had a dream and a vision, and I had a passion. I was going to learn oil paint. Out of the blue, yes. I don't know where it came from, but I was gifted a set of full paints. I got some books. I followed some lessons, and that was in '98. And I did a series of still life. And at the time, my parents had a gallery in Ruidoso. They had lived there, and they had opened a little gallery. And I told them, "Oh, I'm painting. I did these still life." And I think they were very surprised. They never expected that. They came and saw the work, and my dad liked them enough to take them back to his gallery, and he framed them for me, and I sold my first painting within a month.
Okay, so who are your dad and mom?
Kenyon Thomas, ceramic artist, and my mom, Marcia Thomas, who's a weaver and mixed media artist.
And your sister?
Mary Elaine Thomas, and she paints in watercolor and caustic. So we all do something different, yeah, and I'm the oil painter.
So do they still have that gallery in Ruidoso?
No, they ended up moving away due to my mom's health. Okay. So yeah, now they're close to me, which is really nice. Yes, yeah, I get to see them all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm fascinated by your upbringing, because describe what the arts mean to you.
Well, for me personally, creating is just something I have to do.
It's true.
And
artists are like that.
Yes. There's something that shifts in me if I'm not able to get to my studio every day, which I have been for over 25 years now, working and raising my kids, while that whole process of learning to paint and doing business and balancing. So for me, it's a way of life. Everything should be artful, and that's how I approach things. I haven't always had the time to dedicate fully to my painting, because I was home raising kids, and my family has always come first. And so for me to balance that and have the satisfaction, I try to put something artful in everything I do. Whether, everything is creative to me. Cooking, being in the home, and the outings we take, everything has to fulfill something spiritually for me, for the creative need that I have. That's what it means to me.
So that's leading us to my next question, which is your subject matter in the arts, how you got there, how you decided to go fully to painting, or maybe you haven't. Tell me how that all transpired.
Well, once I began painting, it was all over. I knew. I mean, those first paintings I did, and they were in a style that was very unique, because the book that I found outlined indirect painting, which is classical. I'm self-taught, yes. And so it was a classical book where you began drawing, and then you start with a grisaille or monochromatic underpainting, and you let it dry, and then you build glazes and scumbles. And so it's very different from direct painting or alla prima, where things are just mixed and directly painted all in one go, alla prima. I was able to pursue that because I could do a layer and let it sit, and then come back to it, and then work more and more. So the work was very unique, and it was successful. I was very blessed from the start, because the next year, 99, I got juried into the New Mexico Arts and Crafts Fair. And so that began my career, and I never looked back. It was something I had to do. It just took me a while to find it. Yeah. And so when I started, it was still life. And to me, it was mostly abstract, just shapes and color. That's what I was interested in.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Well, the work was classical, but it was a bit naive, because I'd never had training. And so the colors, and I had an ability to capture value. There was just something in them that was charming to people. And so that fueled my interest to keep growing with it. So still life, that's how I learned to paint. The first 10 years I was just painting pears and apples and studying shape and different colors and how the paint worked and the medium and all the different combinations that, come with oil painting. There's so many choices. So that fueled me for many, many years. And I waited to paint birds because my father and my sister painted birds. Oh. I did not want to do. I always wanted to be my own person. Yes. I think that's why music was so important to me when I was young. I wanted to be my own person. doing my own thing. So I didn't pursue birds for a long time, even though I have a passion for birds. I love birds. I'm a birder. I go out and take photographs and get in nature as much as I can.
A photographer, in addition to everything else, yes.
Yeah, so after doing still life for so long, it just I decided to add a bird into
What about the birds? What do they mean to you?
Birds are to me maybe little self-portraits, and I put them in a little environment where they're out of place. It's a reflection of things happening with our environment as well, and that feeling of not having a space really where you belong, maybe. And so the bird will alight for a moment, and yet we become aware of their nature, because it's so unexpected to see a bird in that kind of setting. I didn't also want to be a botanical artist. That does not interest me either. I didn't. I wanted to do something that was unique and something that grew out of my experiences. And my dad being a potter. My house is filled with ceramics,
yes,
as you can see.
His
beautiful. Work is everywhere.
Beautiful.
So I have a big collection, not only of his work, but I've always been interested in ceramics. Mm-hmm. And they're all over my studio. And I especially love blue and white and Asian designs because I like Asian philosophy. And so, yeah.
Another element.
Yes, the wabi-sabi. My works aren't, they're very structured, but I like to capture, these different things that are important to me. So having
they're almost
the Asian influence, they're very quiet, the quietness and the empty spaces,
and for you to spend time.
Yeah.
I can see that. Your birds are quite realistic looking. But it's almost like they're looking back at you.
Well, that's why it's so important to get out into nature and study birds in person, because I'm really trying to get the essence of the bird. I don't copy photographs. I take photographs, but I will find several different reference photos and study the bird's movements and their personalities. They're all a little different. And so everything is, the expression is in the eyes. And usually when I'm painting, that will come first because it is staring back and it brings it to life, even with everything unfinished. That little eye leads me to continue working on the painting until it's complete.
Do you sometimes wonder what that little bird is thinking about you? You're the one who brought it to life.
Well, birds are such shy creatures. They're in their own environment. It's very tricky when you're out in the field trying to capture a bird that is, it's a real joy. It's like a treasure hunt, because if you can be quiet enough and you can be still enough, they will sometimes forget that you're there, and then they'll come out and you can get some really, really good photos. And one time I was in the mountains and I was doing some videotaping of birds alighting, and a Virginia warbler was flittering around next to me in this bush. And they're very tiny birds, and warblers are my favorite birds. I love them so much. And it was flitting all around, and I just kept very, very, very still. And next thing I know, this bird had come and landed right on my knee. Yes, it landed on my knee and was looking up at me. And they're wild animals. These birds, it's a wild creature, and their eyes reflect so much, which I just sat and we looked at each other, and I wanted a picture of it so bad that eventually I started moving my camera, and that was the end of the moment. It flew away, but it took a long time, of us just studying each other. It was studying me, and the birds will come quite close, and those are my favorite moments. What they're thinking, I think they're curious. I think,
they're finding themselves here as well as we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to figure it all out, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Describe a little bit more about your way of painting.
Okay.
Just a little bit more about
Sure.
that.
All right. Well, I was very, very lucky to find the information I did when I first started painting, because it just was so natural for me to paint that way. I began with drawing, and I work out my composition, and I have certain grids that I use that help me align my composition to be the most pleasing. That's really important to me because my paintings are so empty and quiet that the composition has to be spot on, because when there's less elements to look at, if one thing is off, it becomes very, very noticeable. So I always spend a lot of time with composition. And then I do my drawings, and it's hard. Sometimes the bird comes first, but sometimes the still life comes first. It's kind of a play back and forth.
You said the eye comes first?
Well, the bird, well, it's yeah. Looking, yes. And then I do an underpainting, which is just brown and white, just to lay out all my lights and darks.
Yeah.
To get the values down. And then once that dries, I start building color very slowly, and I'll have a ghost image, and then build more layers. And as the glazes build, the color becomes more saturated, the lights become lighter, and the darks until the painting is done. And there's a wonderful play between transparency and opaque paint that I work on, because light will travel through a transparent color and reflect and scatter in a different way than physical light hits opaque paint and bounces off the surface. So I try and concentrate my focal points with more opaque paint so that the light bounces off the surface, and then it will sink into the glazed areas that are the backgrounds, and it will recede. And so the work really does have a three-dimensional quality that when you see them in person.
It must be so exciting to feel your image emerge.
They do emerge. There's a ghost image. I think of it as a ghost image. And I've studied a lot of painters from the past, and Rubens, who was a Flemish painter, worked indirectly in the same way. He would have an underpainting, and he would give the entire painting a wash in one color to harmonize everything, and then once that dried, he'd start layering in all the different colors. So it's like you have a ghost image, and you get some color harmony going, and then you can bring in the colors. Colors are the last importance. That's the last thing. Yeah, it's everything else.
Wow, that's fascinating. Seriously. Have you worked in other media as well, or explored it? Like when you went to UNM, or with your mom and dad or your sister. Music I still play all the time. I did dabble with egg tempera for a while. Egg tempera?
And did some gilding, which I really enjoyed that.
Have you tried watercolor or pastel?
I have everything in my studio, and I have a wonderful, beautiful set of watercolors that I intend to use someday. But it's nice because when both my kids are very interested in art, they can come and read whatever they want, anything that they're interested in. I have books. I have a whole library. I think that's been really wonderful for them. But for me, I did go through a phase where I was so interested in how the old masters worked, and they created
it sounds very much like that, actually.
Yes. So I would make my own paints from dry pigments.
Wow.
Yes, and I would make my own linseed from flax oil.
Wow.
So that my paints were just pure pigment and oil, which is very different from anything you get in a tube today, which is filled with fillers and waxes to keep everything homogeneous. Glitter, whatever is out there. You can find it at the art store. But I went back old school, and it was just these dry pigments, which all have different very different properties. Some are quite coarse.
Yeah.
Some are transparent. Some are very, very fine, and they will melt into an ink consistency. And I mean, it was fascinating. It was like a science experiment, and I never expected that. And then working with those,
So
I learned quite a bit.
yeah. So you've learned to arrive at a medium that you enjoy, or media.
Yes.
Actually, it sounds like you combine a few things.
Yes.
What would you call your genre?
Well, right
You
now,
don't have to put a tag on
well,
it. But it sounds like. Go ahead.
yeah. There's a movement today called classical realism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or contemporary realism.
Uh-huh.
And it's a resurgence of these old techniques.
Right.
There's a lot of art schools that are popping up all over the United States, all over the world, actually. Ateliers that are very rigorous art training that begin for the first year. All you do is draw, and it's from the figure, and then
Which is important.
yes, yeah. I mean, it's that's something what I did do for quite a while is study the portrait with charcoal and the figure, because to develop drawing skills and being self-taught, I felt that was something that I had to do to improve my art. I mean, I got to a point where I had certain deficiencies in my abilities, and so I got really drastic and started studying that. And so I see these trainings that are popular today that is not really available or has been in New Mexico, and I don't think I've run across very many painters who paint in this way here. When I teach at the Art League, I know everyone who comes in, it's foreign, and I love that, because when they start from scratch, and they follow the step by step, their paintings are always beautiful. Beautiful. Yes, I really enjoy seeing the happiness when they get to the end process and they see how working in these steps and concentrating on the drawing and getting that, and then the values, and then coloring last. That's usually color comes first, or other things, mixing the color on the board. That's that. So the other things are harder work, but once you get through them and then you start with the colors, the paintings, they just bloom, they come to life.
I'll bet teaching others helps you review for yourself.
Yes.
What matters.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get to when you come in to judge the work, award the little ribbons.
Yes.
What are you looking for? I mean, I think the basics are important, and I think you know enough about drawing and perspective and all of that. You can tell if that's an artist who knows how to do that, I'm sure. But what else do you look for? And these are teeny-weeny little pieces. So we're talking about scale,
yes,
as well as
frames,
and as the presentation, but as well as the skills. What do you think you'll be looking for as you kind of survey all those little babies?
First thing is what evokes an emotional reaction from me. What I feel a connection with.
It sounds good.
I'm not going to be looking at technique or you can paint things really well, but if they fall flat and you don't have a connection, then to me that's, I have to have a connection with it. So that's going to be primarily what I'll look for first. And then after that, I know I'm going to be looking at a lot of different types of arts, which I appreciate all different styles.
Even three-dimensional.
True, very true. Yes, that'll be wonderful.
We'll be speaking to you.
Yeah, that will be. It's. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be so much fun. I just have a passion for seeing art in person. Anyway, I love going to galleries. I love abstract work. I love plein air, landscape, portrait. I can have a deep connection with anything, because I think the artist comes through in their brushwork, their signature.
Okay.
There's little quirks. I'll probably be looking for little quirks that I like that, because I think that shows a maturity in the artist journey when they have the confidence to use their tools to capture something they're trying to say. So that it's amazing how we're using these tools in paint, in configuring them in a two-dimensional way, and yet we can have such an emotional, reaction to them.
Yeah,
So,
and there is quite a lot of variety in the miniatures. We have 8 separate divisions within the miniatures.
oh, that's awesome.
I know.
I remember during miniatures one year, and and seeing the different ways the things were framed, having an impact, and they're beautiful works. They're all like little gems. It was wonderful.
It's a very important element, I think, through the years. It's given people a way to express themselves that maybe otherwise couldn't. Like in documents years ago, and scribes would start their little texts with little figures, and I mean, it's just amazing to me, and I hope more and more people become interested in doing it that way as well. I don't know.
Well, I love tiny brushes. You'll see in my studio. I have working with tiny brushes.
I know. Yeah. Well, Nicholas is with us. He's our camera person. Do you have any questions?
No, I was just really interested in your chemistry you're talking about with the mixing the pigments with the. It sounds fascinating. I've never done that. I used to work in oils before.
Oh yeah. The earth pigments, gritty rocks, very coarse.
Right.
Those are good. Those are good, easy to mix with, to mull, and get into a paint consistency. But there were some that I got that were historical that I experimented with. One was a blue smalt. It was smalt, and it was blue. It was a beautiful color, and I would mull it, and it would become, paint-like consistency. I would come back to it the next day, and it was hard as a rock.
Really?
Hard as a rock. And so, getting it to stabilize in the tube, I had to add other mixtures into it. Fumed silica is found in paints, and that kind of a modern thing.
You're a chemist.
Yes, once you started playing with these different elements and seeing how they work together, it's very time consuming. I mean, sitting in my studio all day, playing with pigment, it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot.
You have to.
I'm glad not to do it anymore, but I have pigments. I do make. There are a couple colors that my white. I will always make my own white because it's very unique consistency, and like I said about having the opaques in the subject matter, usually the lights catch the eye, and so when my white is a certain consistency, it just helps the surface of the painting look more alive. So, but there was another color I did. It was a green, and it was like swamp goo, and it was. I couldn't believe it. I thought they'd all be the same. So some were like ink. They would just thin. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was neat.
I mean, even two colors have a different consistency.
Yeah.
Marine blue always has a different consistency from others.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, that one does.
But the bottom line is you have to be in your studio.
Yes.
You are so devoted and focused,
Yes.
and it's your lifeblood in a way. Yeah, I know. The artists, thank goodness for artists. Well, all the arts, there's a common, like with the music, and and painting and all of that, even dancing and all of that. There's a certain something that needs to be with us in this world right now.
Yes, yes, yeah, truly, truly. Sometimes I think we're
One last question at this point is, how would you advise up and coming new artists? How would you advise them to explore, or what's in and what's current, or how do they find themselves? I know it's a loaded question.
That's very tricky. I think we all have a different path and a different journey. I think things unfold differently for different people, even though so many artists creating so many similarities. Everyone I've ever met has had a completely different journey and path to get to where they were. So there isn't any one bit of advice except to build a thick skin. You have to let ego go. That is a big, big, big thing. You know, when you have rejections, you have to keep moving forward. You have to always have a vision, I think, of where you want to be. I know for me, when I first started painting, it just felt so right, and I just had a vision. And of course, being surrounded by art and art magazines and looking at art all the time, I knew I was familiar with that kind of life. But, you know, looking at other artists' work, getting to know their histories, you know, reading current magazines of things going on, seeing that, you can get a vision for what you want to do and an education of what other artists are doing. And that vision, you know, seeing yourself in a studio someday, that's what you have to hold on to through everything. You can never, it will become your reality. I know that for sure.
And I think it's difficult too sometimes when you're in a gallery and it's what's saleable versus what you want to paint.
Yeah.
And you're lucky if it's both the same, but a lot of times artists kind of switch a little bit just to please the...
Well, and it's a balance. You know, for me, I realized I was very lucky because I was doing something that had universal appeal. Yeah. And I think you know, the success I found early fueled my passion because there was a response to it. And so I think getting out there and having people see your work and getting that response is really important. But you want to have people that you can trust that are going to give you the right kind of responses too, as well, to help you grow. Yeah. Yes, and unfortunately, you know, for success, I believe there does have to be a bit of universal appeal because you want to speak to humanity. You're trying to connect with something in you. You connect with something in you, humankind, that's going to appeal to humankind. That these truths that you are listening to and expressing yourself, it will be successful if you relate to other people, because we're all here with the same, you know,
whatever that is.
We all have the same needs and wants and connections, and so, you know, it can be kind of gauche to talk about, you know, business aspect and that kind of success, because that's what everybody artist wants, is to be out there.
You have to make a living.
You have to make a living, but you need to concentrate more fully on finding that passion and trying to reach, you know, have something interesting that connects with other human beings.
Oh my, Sarah, thank you so much. Yeah, you're amazing in so many ways.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad you came today.
We are too. You're so happy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to looking at all the miniatures.
Absolutely, sure. We will see, and it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, before we know it.
Well, thank you so much.